This is Gemara in Kesubos Daf Kuf Hey, as we begin today the 13th and final Perek Baruch Hashem of this incredible Masechta Kesubos that has taken us the past few months. What an incredible way to begin the new year, to begin the winter, learning together for the last week of this Masechta. And here we go. We're on the bottom of Kuf Dalet and Beis at the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Shnei Dayanim Gezeiros Haya B'Yerushalayim. There were two Dayanim, two judges of Gezeiros, of decrees in Yerushalayim. Their names were Admain and V'Chanan ben Avishalom. Chanan Omer Shnei Dvarim. Chanan said two things. Adman Omer Shiva. Adman said 7. So Chanan has 2 decrees, and Adman has 7 decrees. And as the Gemara and the Mishnah are going to explain, these were Gezeiros that ultimately the Chachamim argued upon them, as the last Rashi points out, Shlayach Chachamim Moedim Loi. And says the Mishnah, decree number 1 of Chanan, someone goes overseas and his wife is requesting support. Chanan Omer, says Chanan, as we turn over to today's Daf Kovei Amar Aleph, says Chanan, Tisha B'Av Asoy v'lo Tisha B'Av Tchila. The halacha is, says Chanan, that when does this woman have to make a shvuah? This woman has to make a shvuah at the point that she is collecting B'Asoyf, which refers to her ksuba, as Rashi says, and not at the beginning when she's collecting mizaynos. Nechluku alav b'nei kahanim gedolim. So the b'nei kahanim gedolim argued on Chanan, and they said, "V'amru tishav b'tzchila u'ba'asayf." No, she has to make a shvuah both when she comes to collect the mizaynos and when she comes to collect the ksuba. Amr Rav Daisi ben Hurkanis k'divrayim. Rav Daisi ben Hurkanis sided with the opinion of the Chachamim. And the Mishnah concludes that Amr Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai Yafa Amar Chanan. Even though the Chachamim argue, and even though Rav Daisi ben Hurkanis is learning like the Chachamim, still says Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai Chanan has spoken well. Lo tishava ela b'sayif, says Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai, the halacha is that she only has to swear b'sayif when she's coming to collect her ksuba. So before we even get involved in the actual din in the Mishnah, asks the Gemara that the Mishnah said that there were 2 Dayanim Gezeiros. Said at the beginning of the Mishnah, Chanan and Chanan ben Avshalom and Admoin. Says that the Gemara V'Ramini Shleisha. As the Gemara, Kasha number 1 is that we learned in our Brisa that there were Shleisha Dayanim Gezeiros Haya B'Yerushalayim. There were 3 judges, and their names were Admoin ben Gidai, V'Chanan HaMitzi, V'Chanan ben Avshalom. So Chanan and Admoin I see, but there's a third Chanan, a second Chanan, a third judge. So says the Gemara Kasha Talasa Train. Number 1 question is that were there 2 or 3 judges? And secondly, Kasha Gezeiros HaGezeilos. The Mishnah coined these Dayanim of Gezeiros, of decrees. And we see that the Gemara is coining them Dayanim Gezeilos. So says the Gemara Bish, Lama Talasa Train like Kasha. 3 on 2, that is not a question. Why not? The Chashav Leikatani, the Chashav Leikatani. The Mishnah listed those that were important, those that were Chashiv. However, those that were not, this last Chanan is not listed. Gezeiros Kasha, what were they? Were they Dayanim of Gezeiros, of decrees, or Gezeilos of dealing with theft, of dealing with stealing? Amar Chanan bar Yitzchak she'geizrin Gezeiros al Gezeilos. Says Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, both Brisa and Mishnah are correct. They were Dayanim of Gezeiros, of Gezeilos. Kedetanya has learned in a Brisa Kitma Netiya. Says the Brisa, what is the din of a Kitma Netiya? If an animal cut off a young tree of someone else's, of Yesi Emer Goizri Gezeiros Shevushalayim Aimrim Netiya Bashnasa Shtei Kesef. That if it's a 1-year-old tree, you have to pay 2 kesef. Bashtei Shan Marba Kesef. A 2-year-old tree, you have to pay 4 kesef. But we see that the Goizri Gezeiros of Yushalayim are dealing with this act of Gezeilah, of theft, and therefore the Mishnah and the Brisa are correct. Asks the Gemara further, asks the Gemara further, 1 second. There's a different Brisa that says that there are 3 Dayanim of Gezeiros, Adman v'Chanan v'Nachum. So what happened to Nachum in our previous list? Amar Papa Mantan and Nachum Rav Nosson. He was Rav Nosson. And Tanya Rav Nosson. Rav Nachum Amadai. May God give you Yerushalayim. How you will hold the Chacham. The Chacham did not agree that Nachum Amadai was part of this list. Ask the Gemara further. Vasul Leka. Are there no other than 3 of these Dayanim? There were 394 Batei Dinim in Yerushalayim, connected Batei Knisiyos, connected Batei Midrashos, and there were the same number of shuls and the same number of Batei Midrashos, connected Batei Seifrim, and the same amount of schools. So ask the Gemara, I don't understand. You just told me there were 3 Batei Dinim, but we see there are 394. Answers the Gemara on the last narrow line. Dayanim tuva hayu. There are many Dayanim, but we're talking specifically on those that were the ones that made the Gezerais, that made their decree. Continues the Gemara on the first wide line. Now that we're on the topic of Dayanim, and now we're going to go a bit off a tangent over here. I mean, this whole Gemara so far has been off tangent, as we actually haven't dealt with the din itself in the Mishnah. But now says the Gemara, let's try to understand a bit about Dayanim, which is ultimately going to segue into a discussion about Sheikhad. Says the Gemara in the first wide line, Kafei Amar Aleph Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Yosi. Says Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav Yosi, Geizer Gzeir Shebi Yishlayim Ayanei L'Tzchar and Tisha V'Tisha Mana Mitrumas Halishka. How were these Dayanim? They would sit on Dinei Torah all day. So says the Gemara, how do they earn money? How do they support themselves? Explains the Gemara, they supported themselves. They used to take from the Trumas Halishka and the Beis HaMikdash 99. They're Noitlin Schar Tisha V'Tisha Mana. They were taking 99 Mitrumas Halishka, and that was their wages, and that's how they survived. Loi Ratzu, if they don't want that, then they would get a bit more money. Ask the Gemara, Loi Ratzu, what does that mean? If 99 they didn't want, they demanded higher wages. We're done with the Rishayim that just want more cash. Ella explains the Gemara, no, Loi Safku. What the Brisa meant was that if the 99 mana is not enough for them, even though they don't really want to take more, we add on and we give them a bit more of their wages. Continues the Gemara. So that's the first part where the Dayanim got their money from, was the Trumas Halishka. Continues the Gemara in the fourth wide line. Karna v'shakal istra mizakai v'istra mechayiv. Karna, name of a dayan, name of a judge, would take 1 istra, a coin, from each of the 2 parties in a din Torah. From the Zakah and the Chayiv, the guy that won and lost, each had to pay him 1 istra. Udein lahu, v'dayin lahu dina. And he would judge the case for them. So each one would pay him an istra, and then he would judge the case. Ask the Gemara 1 second. How did Karna do that? You're not allowed to take bribery. Maybe it's only called bribery if you don't take from both parties. Why? Because then you're going to come to corrupt the din. And if you took from both parties, we don't have to worry about that. But the dina mishari is the din of corruption, is the din of bribery, is the din of sheikhad, specifically only because you might come to corrupt the din. We learned in a brayso of a sheikh al-Sikach says in the Torah, you cannot take bribery. What's the point of that pasuk? If the pasuk is teaching us that you should not pervert the din by making the one that should win lose and lose win. But the Torah already taught us you should not be sata, you should not lean, you should not pervert the judgment. So already have a pasuk saying that you shouldn't mess up the ruling. Ella. So what does the pasuk of Losikach Sheikha teach us? Afilu lezakis is a chayiv, l'chayiv is a chayiv. Even if you're coming to make the zakai chayiv, you're done incorrectly. You're not messing up. Still, Amra Taira v'Sheikh Losikach, you're not allowed to take bribery. So ask the Gemara, how could Karna take a coin from each party? If we have an explicit pasuk in the Torah of Losikach Sheikha and it teaches us even if you're not actually messing up the din Torah, it's still forbidden. Explains the Gemara, Hani mili echad shakel b'Torah sheichad. When is it forbidden? When is the pasuk teaching us that you're not allowed to take sheikhad if you're taking it as bribery? P'teres igra havishakol karna, P'teres igra havishakol karna would take it as wages, and you're allowed to take the cash as wages. Ask Gemara, really? P'teres igra mishari? Does that make it permissible? The fact that you're taking it as wages, Vatanam, we learned in the Mishnah. If someone takes wages to Dana Din Taira, the judgment is batal. As is Gemara, Hani Mili Agardino. That's if you take money to judge. Karna Agrabitela Have Shakel. What did Karna take? And this is a off-mentioned line. Now we'll be able to see the Makar. What would Karna take? He would take Agar Betela. He would take the amount of money that he would have made for doing Agar Betela. For unemployment, under the first unemployment benefits, he's not actually taking money for Dani the Din Torah, but rather whatever he would have made, what he would have done, now that he's not doing that, he's taking cash for that. Agar Betela Mishari says, is that allowed? It is despicable the judges that take money to judge a case. It's despicable, but Lamaisa, the Din Torah stands. So what's this price talking about? If you're telling me that they're taking money to judge, Dinoi Din, does the judgment stand? We just learned a moment ago that if you take money to judge a case, the din is batal. Ella agar betela. Rather, what must it be referring to? Must be referring to the amount of money for the judge to be batal. But katani mechora deyanim. What do we see? It says that they are mechora, they're despicable. So we see even the agar betela, even taking money, just what you would have made, is also not appropriate. So how did Karna do that? Explains the Gemara, Hani midi betela dlamucha. When is it mechor? 10 lines to the bottom, the first word of the line is betela, is when it's loy mucha. It's not clear why you're taking the cash. Karna betela demucha have. When Karna took the money, everyone knew that he would have made money doing something else, have a shakel, and that's why it's not despicable. Now the Gemara proves that it was actually recognizable, the fact that Karna was taking a loss, because he was hired to smell the wine, and they would give him a zuz for the smelling of the wine. So everyone knew the fact that he's now not smelling the wine, but rather he's sitting here judging a case. Everyone knew that he clearly is taking a loss, and therefore it's not despicable. When a case would come in front of Rav Huna, Amar Loho, Havalu Gavra the Dalili, Rav Huna would tell them, bring me a man who will draw water, b'charikai. Instead of myself, I would draw water. I was a water carrier, so bring me someone else to do it. Ve'edan l'chudina, then I'll judge the case. So we see clearly that he was taking a loss, and therefore explains the Gemara, that's when Agar Betela is mutter, when it's clearly recognizable. So now that we're on the topic of taking sheikhad, we take a left turn or maybe a right turn, and we have a nice and lengthy discussion about bribery. Says Rav Avua, we're 8 lines to the bottom, look how blind a person comes from accepting bribery. Someone's eyes are hurting them, he gives money to a doctor, he doesn't know, can the doctor heal him? Maybe yeah, maybe no, but he pays the doctor. And how much do you pay the doctor? You give him a pruta. And thereby, what happens? They blind their eyes. The pasuk says, for one who takes bribes, his eyes will be blind. So we see from over here, it sounds like it actually should be taken literally, that taking bribery actually causes one to have loss of sight. Tanu Rabbanan, 4 lines to the bottom, if it blinds the chachamim, certainly the tipshin, v'yisalev divrei sadikim, certainly the foolish, and it perverts. It's the salif, the words of the righteous. Kal v'chaymer l'rashayim, midi tipshin l'rashayim b'nei dininu. Says Gemara. 1 second. The tipshin, the rashayim, are they the ones that are supposed to be dayanim? Why are they judging a case? Elachi kamar, 2 lines to the bottom. This one it means ki hashachid yaver ini chacham afilu chacham gadol. even a great chacham. He's not going to leave this world without his heart becoming blind. And what does the pasuk mean? And it perverts the eyes, the words, the divrei of the righteous. As we turn over to Kov Hey Amid Beis, what does that refer to? Afilu tzaddik gomer, even if one is a completely righteous person, and unfortunately he succumbed and he took a bribe, in an iftar min ha'olam b'leitir fadas, he's not going to leave this world without a confused mind. Continues the Gemara, Ki asur avdimi amar darshav nacham erkayin. Ma'idach say, what is the meaning of the pasuk melech l'misha yamoid aret vish terumais yarsanu? 5 lines from the top of Kov Hey Amid Beis. Ask the Gemara, what is the meaning of the pasuk that says the king b'mishva yamoid stands in judgment, eretz veish trumais yarsanu, upholds the world, but a man overthrows the world, yarsanu. Explains the Gemara, if the judge is like a king, doesn't need anything, Yamid Aretz, it upholds the world by his wonderful judgments. But he's similar to a kayin that unfortunately has to go around collecting truma, yarsenu, but I'm taking the bribes. It's going to effectively overthrow the world. It's going to pervert the judgment. It's going to mess everything up. Continues the Gemara, Amar Abra Shila Haidayana Deshal Sheilta. Says the Gemara, you want to see how far taking a bribe goes. If we have a dayan that is Shol Sheilta, he borrows something. Pasal Lemeidan Dina. He's no longer allowed to be a judge. And not only that, it's only where he does not have something to give him back. He borrows, but he can't lend him back in return. But if he could return something, if he could lend something back to the person that lent to him, there's nothing against him, and he still could judge the case. Ask the Gemara, is that true? Rava borrowed things in the house of Bar Miriam, and even though they didn't borrow back from him, and yet Rava was still a dayan. So ask the Gemara, you just told me a rule. You just told me that any time someone borrows items can't be a judge. You see, Rava borrowed stuff and he was a judge. Explains the Gemara, he borrowed them in order to make it important. Meaning, this family of Bar Marion, the fact that they lent items to Rava, they were looked as chashiv in the eyes of the people. That's why Rava borrowed items. But Rava didn't actually borrow something that he needed it, and therefore Rava did not become one that was indebted to another, and therefore Rava did not become possible to be a judge. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rava, my time to sheichad. What is the reason when it comes to sheichad? The kabbaleh shochta minei. What is the reason that once a judge takes a bribe, karvu lei daito ligabe? The reason it messes up the din Torah is because his das, he feels closer to the person that gave him the cash. V'have kegufe, and the fact that he feels close to him, it becomes like his own body. And the classical klal, you don't see any imperfections, any wrongs about yourself. My sheichad, and from here we learn out what does the word sheichad come from? Shehu chad. That you and the person that gave you the cash are considered one. It's considered kigufai, and that's the reason why you're not allowed to judge such a din Torah. Says our Papa, a judge should not judge someone that he likes, not one that he hates. Why should he not judge such a case? He's not going to see anything wrong with him. He's not going to see anything good about him. So says the Gemara, a judge has to be completely impartial. If he has any prior notions towards either of the parties, he's not allowed to judge the din Torah. Amar Abaye, 2 lines on the wide lines, and Surma Rabbanan Dimrachon Lebnei Masa. This Surma Rabbanan, this young Talmud Chacham, that the people in the town have pity upon him, they like him. Says the Gemara, it's not because he's such a good, they think he's such a good person. Rather, the reason is because he doesn't give them teichacha, he doesn't rebuke them in mili dishmaya. Says the Gemara, a startling statement. If a Rav, this is the way the Miri explains it, is the people in the community love him, it's not because, this is, he does not necessarily have to not judge them. We were discussing when one becomes puzzle as a dayan, he does not become puzzle from judging them Why? Because says the Gemara, it's not that he did favors for them, but it's obviously just because he doesn't give them teichacha, he doesn't yell at them, but he still is allowed to be a judge for them. Amai Rav, on the end of the first Y line, Mereish have Amina Hani b'nei Mechuza Kula Rachman Li. Said Rav, originally I thought that all the people in Mechuza, they liked me. Kivan Dahave Dayana. But then what happened? I became their judge. Amina Aminayu Sanili. I thought they hate me. Uminayu Rachmili. I thought some of them hate me and some of them like me. Kivan Dachazai on the Machayvli Inda Kazachla Machar. But then what happened? Eventually he saw that today one guy won and the next day the other guy won. I said that if they like me, they're all going to like me. If they hate me, they're all going to hate me. Meaning, Rava realized that he was being completely objective, and those that liked him are going to like him regardless of that which he does, and those that disliked him, the same. Tanu Rabbanan continues the Gemara on the fourth wide line, medium-sized line, I should say. The Torah didn't have to tell me not to take bribery. It doesn't have to tell me about monetary bribes. Even bribery with words. Nami aser. Why? The Torah didn't say betza referring to cash. It said sheichad referring to all forms of bribery. Says the Gemara, what are such scenarios? 6 lines into the medium-sized lines. Shmuel was crossing over a bridge. And gave Shmuel his hand to help him walk across. Shmuel said to him, what's your business? I have a din Torah, that's why I'm traveling. Said Shmuel, you did me even this minor favor of giving me your hand and helping me cross the bridge. I am now puzzled to be your judge due to the favor which is considered the sheikhah that he took from him. Another example says the Gemara, a Meimer was sitting and judging a case. A feather flew onto his head. Also, so a person saw a feather sitting on Meimer's head. What do you do? He took off the feather. So Meimer says, what are you doing? I'm coming and I'm waiting. I have a judgment. Meimer said, I can no longer be a judge due to the favor that you did for me. And a third example continues the Gemara. Marukva was walking and there was a bit of spit in front of him. A person came and saw this spit in front of Marukva and covered over the spit. Marukva said, what are you doing? Due to the favor that you did for me, I can no longer be your judge. And a fourth example, Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yossi had a certain sharecropper that would bring him every Friday a basket of fruit. One day I sleep. One day the sharecropper who was obligated to give him this basket of fruit brought it to him on Thursday. Amar lei, Maishna, you know why today you're bringing it to me on a Thursday? Amar lei, I have a judgment. And I figured I'm on the way to go to the Bezdin, so I'll bring you your basket of fruit. Loi kabul minei. So Rishmael didn't accept the basket from him. Amar lei, I said to him, I'm puzzled for being a judge for you. He appointed a pair of Rabbanan and what happened? He appointed a pair of Rabbanan to be the judge, the Dayanim for the sharecropper, and they started to judge the case. And Rabbi Shmuel is sitting there. Rabbi Shmuel says to himself, why doesn't he say this taina? Why doesn't he say this taina? Amar. As Rabbi Shmuel realizes his bias, he realizes that there's a din Torah of the sharecropper in front of him, and his mind is conjuring up different tainas, different reasons, different things he can say in Bezdin. Says Rabbi Shmuel, those who accept bribery, their souls should suffer. Mani says Shmuel, I didn't even take the that which he was bringing to me. Then the taltin, if I took it, Shalina talti, he's obligated to pay it to me. And yet, this is the way I see my brain is working. Rishmael realizing the incredible power of the bribe, that if he didn't even take it and he was obligated to be paid, and he still saw that in his mind he was conjuring up different tainas for the litigants, so much so any other person. Continues the Gemara, we're 10 lines before the very wide lines, the 2 dots. Rishmael bar Elisha, Iseleyahu Gavra. Rabbi Shmuel bar Elisa, one time a certain man came to him, Rish Gaze. Isli Rish Gaze, excuse me. The person brought to Shobar Elisha, Rish Gaze, the first shearings of the animal. Amrle, Mechat, where are you from? Amrle, Midoch Polan, I'm from such and such place. So Shmuel Rav Yesi says, from there to here, there's no kain that you could have given the Rish Gaze to. Amar Le, the man said, Dina Isli, I have a court case, I have a judgment. I figured on the way, I'll bring you over the first shearings. Amar Le, Rav Yishmael says to him, Dina, I can't be a judge for you. Like and he didn't accept, even though he wasn't going to be a judge, he still didn't accept the first shearings from him. He gave him a pair of Rabbanan to judge the case. And they were judging for him. As he was going and coming, and again, Rishmal was hearing the court case, and he was saying, wait, why doesn't he say this? Why does he say that? Amar. And again, Rishmal remarks, the incredible power of a bribe. And we'll conclude for today, 4 lines from the white lines. Ravanan someone brought to Ravnan a basket of gildana fish that were gilna devei gili, that were raised amongst the reeds. Amar le, Ravanan said to him, what are you doing here? Amar le, diniyasli. Look, Ravanan did not accept these. Ravanan did not accept the fish from him. Amar le, I can't be your judge. Amar le, dina damar labina. So he said, I don't need you to judge my case. I just want that you should accept my gift, my fish as a gift. Why? So that you don't prevent me from bringing my bikurim. This is the first fruits that were ripe, and this is what I want to bring to Eretz Yisrael. Now, exactly why this is fish, it wasn't fruit, but let's get there. Titania says the Gemara in the last medium-sized line. A man came from this place called Baal Shalisha and brought to Elisha the bread of the bikurim, 20 loaves and fresh kernels in their husks. Ask him, what's going on? Did Elisha eat bikurim? To give a gift to a Talmud Chacham, it's as if you're giving Bikurim, and that's the reason why in the previous story with Ravanan, he called the fish Bikurim because he wanted to give a gift to Talmud Chacham. Continues the Gemara, Amar Le Ravanan says back to this man who wanted to give him this Galdana fish, I do not want to accept the gift. Hash lo binan dekabil. Hash damar ali taima mikabelina. Hash damar ali taima. Now that you're explaining to me the reason you want me to accept it, mikabelina, I'm going to accept the gift. So he sent to Rav Nachman, you have to judge this person's case. Anan, because I'm possible for judging. Amar, Rav Nachman said, Rav Nachman said, 1 second, for Rav Anan sent me such a chashuv message, must be this person is Rav Anan's relative. And what happened? There was a certain din Torah involving Yisaimim before Rav Nachman. Amar, and he said, we don't have the next page, just finish up the story. Hayasei, to judge this court case is an asay. Hayasei, and judging this court case is an asay. Each din Torah is equally weighted. Asay, the chavoy Torah adif. So Rav Nachman thought, I'm going to go for a kavod Torah. I'm going to judge the case that Rav Anan sent me. Salkula dina diasmei. So he put the din Torah of the Yisaimim on the side. And he took up the din Torah that Rav Anan sent him. When the Baldin saw they were giving him such an honor, his arguments were blocked, and he didn't have the confidence to come to Bezdin properly due to the fact that he saw that he was getting such chashava kavod from Rav Nachman. We'll pick up with the end of the story tomorrow. B'siyata dishmaya.